Audrey. Whee!
Here we are. Okay, good. There was a little bit of a delay there. Gott Warner here. Welcome to another video edition of Power Purls Podcast. So I'm here every week chatting with all of you guys, joined once again by expert knitter, designer, teacher, Beth Whiteside. So Beth.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome. Yeah, so I'm really glad that you decided to join me because, last week we were chit-chatting about how to crush it, how to start to become a knitwear designer, or maybe you just want to empower yourself and start to design, customize designs for you. Okay. So a lot of stuff that we're talking about today will empower you and excite you because we're going to talk about like taking leaps of faith and stuff like that too. And we'll still, we'll talk a little bit more about the tools, how to, develop your product, which is your pattern, right? So I'm going to just ask you guys to chime in and say, hey, where you're viewing from, and then I will officially get started here. So, Beth, did you have something you raised your hand a little bit there?
Well, I was waving hi to everybody.
Oh, okay.
There's a bit of a timeline on my side, so and I see all these great little highs coming across, and I want to wave at everybody as they come into the room.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's one of those things. It's kind of like nerve-wracking when you have to wait because there's a delay. So yes, we are having to let everyone know that that's the case. So hopefully everything will go smoothly today. I've never had an issue where I got bumped out of here. This is a really good thing to broadcast on my desktop, so I'm pretty happy with it. So far so good, but knock on wood. I just knocked on real wood right here. Okay, so as I'm talking, because I'm always talking, I can do that really, really well. You guys are coming in the room, so we're going to say hello. So Audrey is with us. And on our comments on screen, Beth, did you know that? So I'm going to do that. So here's something from Audrey. So Audrey says, part 1 was so great. Looking forward to part 2. Well, I think Audrey, so welcome. And I'm so happy that you decided to join us today. So Elaine is here. Hello, Elaine. And I emailed you this morning, Elaine. So hopefully you got that friendly email from me. Because I'd love to sign you up for one of those free discovery sessions. It'd be fun to have a conversation and finally see you face to face. Paula is Florida's Space Coast. Awesome. Let's see. So Audrey says, I have no sound, so maybe you couldn't hear me welcoming you. Ooh. Sound yet. If you say yes, that means you can hear me. I think we are good. So you may want to check some of the device situations there on your end. We have Dana here. Hello. Dana is in New York. Yay, New York. It's my neck of the woods. I'm a Jersey girl, but born in New York City. Let's see. So Dana says I had again for sound. Okay. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. But if any of you guys, I'm guessing hoping all you guys can hear. So if you can hear, please say yay, yes, you're good, hear you loud and clear. Christy's here. Oh, good. Audrey does have sound, so we are good to go. Rebecca is in the house. Rebecca says, what is the link for that again? So what link are you asking about the discovery sessions, Rebecca, I'm guessing? If so, it's powerpurlspodcast.com/free strategy session. Schedule a free session with me, 30 minutes, to talk about your business goals and life goals, because, they all merge, don't they? They just do. There's nothing you can do about it. And Rebecca's from South Carolina. Lucetta's here. Hello. How are you, Jana? Hi. Let's see. Gosh, a lot of you guys are in the house. Troy, yay. We're good to hear you. I'm so glad you made it on time, Troy, because I guess you're busy, got a lot going on, and usually you get here when I'm just about ready to end. So I'm glad you made it. All right, so everyone can hear. Nora is here. Hello. Saludos. Did I say that right? From Spain. I should know better. I took 4 years of Spanish in high school, and one of those was honors Spanish. I will tell you, when I was traveling in Spain, because I was living in Europe when I was in college for a little bit, and I was in Paris. So everyone could speak English. They're like, all right, I'll speak to you in English. Don't try to speak French. I'm like, oh. And I tried. But when I went to Spain, no go. And I was like, oh, and it came back when I needed it, and it came back. So anyway, that was just a little sidebar.
Oh,
all right.
Quiero España. Hay 2 semanas en Madrid.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Sí.
Ciudad muy bonito. Bonita? Ciudad. La ciudad. Yeah. Okay. I'm not going to go there. We could just be here forever.
Yeah. So exactly. I know. It's like, whoa, what are we talking about today? So anyway, yeah. Dana says, it's Kara. Yeah, it is part 1. Yes. It's on the Facebook page. If you go to the video archives, you guys know that little tab, it's on the left-hand side, click videos. And if you go to the archived videos, so they're sort of in order by date, but it's the video that we did on the 21st of July, which was last Friday. And starting changing up these videos. Just another little quick announcement before we get in, if that's okay. I decided that I'm going to start broadcasting on Wednesdays because Fridays are just too crazy pants in my house. And I know you guys are accustomed to seeing me on Fridays, and that's been going now for like over 2 years. Oh my gosh, can't believe it. But I think I'm going to hope that's okay, but I'll send you all kinds of reminders. So, so you won't forget. All right. So I'm going to jump in here and quick reserve for kind of helping everyone get into the room. Again, my name is Gott Warner if you're just joining us. And I am the host of Power Purls Podcast, designer, coach, and on your yarn crafting path. And you can catch me here every week on Facebook Live. So today I have Beth Whiteside. Say hello again, Beth.
Hi, everybody. Beth Whiteside, teacher, designer, tech editor. Very nice to be here with you, Kara, again.
Yes, this is very awesome. And again, it's the delay. So sorry, you guys. We do have a little bit of a delay. It's all good. So if you guys missed last week, I'll just kind of jump in and then we'll get into. So if you missed us last week, you can check the video archives, like I had said. And we in part 1, we were talking about the tools and the resources that you need if you really want to start going down path to start, designing. And, maybe I know that some of you aren't designing, want to get into the design world, but you just want to empower yourself. Designs, your patterns that can fit you, or maybe for people that you love, right? And then just to empower yourself. That's really what it comes down to. And you guys know with all the courses that I teach you, especially in this education series, it's all about taking intuitive chances and really learning to trust the wisdom of what's on your needles and what's on you. So last week, we just really quickly, Beth and I, we jumped in and we talked about the stories, what our stories were. So we shared that. So you guys go back and check that out. And we really proved that there's no one way, right, Beth? There's no one way, no set path. What your goals are, what's your why, and also, and then I'll just say becoming a professional is figuring out, is this a business or this is a hobby? We talked about the tools. So we're talking about your why, how to discover that and figure out where you belong, what's going on. Beth also gave you some homework that actually, Beth, can you jump in again? Because we want to see if any of you guys actually did it.
Yes. So the first thing was, as Kara said, thinking about your why and your constraints and what's possible given the constraints of your particular world. And I used the example of, he's now 14. I have a son of whom I share custody. We're joint parents. We're co-parents. But that meant when he was younger, I couldn't travel very often. I could travel only within the local area. And so that constrained what was possible for me in my career in those early days. And that's changing now. And the thing about constraints is that they often do change in life. So you start with one thing and you go from there. You can't get your arms around the whole thing at once. So it was thinking about what is possible for you with what you are thinking you want to do, what you'd like to try. And then the second part of the homework beyond that was thinking about who you would be designing for. Who is your target audience? And there's an easy tendency there to say, well, everybody, right? From, children, because you have kids and you're designing for your kids, to yourself, to your spouse, to your brother, which is fine, except if you're trying to develop a pattern line rather than design for a magazine, for example, then you won't have a consistent message. And if you think about what you yourself like to buy, what patterns you've been knitting, they probably have a consistent message. And it's going to make your life easier if you pick one and at least start with one and kind of go from there. And so when I say one, I mean two things there, really. Like, is your audience kids? Are you trying to reach the audience for children's clothes, or are you going for adults? And then style-wise, are you trying to reach the Benetton shopper, or are you trying to reach the Forever 21 shopper? Just to use two examples out of the air that I really made up. And I think part of the homework was to just jot down a few notes to yourself about who that audience might be for you. And I don't know. So did anybody take a few notes on that topic? Well, we'll wait and see if you drop in, because there is that delay.
Yeah, it's going to take time for them to type, and then they pop up eventually. So we have to remember in our memory banks the things that we ask. I'm really bad at forgetting because I go down rabbit holes all the time. You guys, you know that. There was a couple weeks ago where I didn't really have a topic and I was all over the place, but everyone loved it anyway. I was like, wow, that turned into one of my best videos. So I think one thing I wanted to say based on what you were saying, other designers, others that have really, because they're so passionate, remember your passion. Don't forget your passion. Yes. Don't decide to choose an audience because it's like, this is the audience I should choose. That are really just, I can tell it's theirs because it's what they would wear themselves. So I think a great place to start, and I think the thing that I know from being the editor of Creative Knitting, the former editor of Creative Knitting, that most knitters, when I would ask the audience, most of us really want to knit for ourselves, more so than gifts, even though that's a big thing that we want to say, oh, I want to do, gift giving. And we do want to make stuff for ourselves. So with that being said, think about what to wear, because then you can have a basis for what's reality and what I think new designers especially get into creating something. And sometimes, maybe that word designer is too heavy too. Like maybe just someone that wants to make a design. You get caught up in stitch pattern and fussiness. And at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, would I wear this? And it's exciting to create that stitch pattern and to get a little fussy sometimes. But if no one's going to wear it, and not even including you, then what was it worth? A really funky, crazy, off-the-wall shawl, which is why I think shawls are so popular. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Shawls are so popular, and you was a glitch in the middle of what you were saying. Was it around stitch patterns?
Oh, gosh. No, and I guess I was saying that, yeah. So, God, Elaine says nerdy and urban. That's her style. What I was saying, Beth, yeah, it's sorry about the delay, and I keep saying that, but just about following the beat of your own drum and your own style and not getting so fussy. Because at the end of the day, if you're not going to wear it, nobody else is going to wear it. Although it depends on what your goals are, because you could make a shawl that's really off the wall and crazy, because you could so do that with a shawl. Totally. Okay. With a basic look underneath it. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
I think that's why shawls are just the people. So anyway, so let's talk about our designing tools, like our product development, because that's our product, obviously. So yeah. I want to kind of kick off here. This section is our biggest, and I'm going to start a little bit here. Pattern the books. The books that I love to talk about all the time. Just Deborah Newton's Designing Knitwear, and you guys know I always talk about sketching and swatching. But anyway, I want to turn the floor over to Beth, because Beth has she's really, up to her arms in this stuff, so to speak, up to her elbows, whatever.
No.
Beth is really in touch.
Up to my arms.
Oh yeah, I recognize those. We're in creative knitting, boy. So, what kind of tools would you like to share?
Right.
For the audience, Beth?
Well, what occurred to me as we were talking about audience, and we are now talking about tools, and part of why I was saying sort of pick your target audience, is that if you decide that, then when you have to size things, if you start making things that need what's called pattern grading, that you have to write out all the sizes for, then you only need to be familiar with, say, the sizing standards for adult women or children or something of that nature. You don't need to be familiar with all of them. So if you pick one, then you get familiar with those, and they'll come to mind more easily, and you won't feel frazzled trying to remember how to size things for kids because you've been doing adults. And so the reference where tools come into this conversation is that online you can go ahead and look up, it's www.yarnstandards.com. You can get to it through that URL, or you can go to the Craft Yarn Council Association, I think it's an association website, and find on the sideline, they have a little section there where they'll talk about body measurements, and it has some standards. For example, for a women's 40-inch bust, what is the length from back neck down to waist, or sleeve length for the standards? And these are standards that are used by a great many publications around the industry. So when you pick up Deborah Newton or Shirley Payton or whatever other book you're using, what other reference you're using to help you learn about designing, those standards can be extremely helpful as you work on grading, creating your garment in each of the sizes. So that's one tool that would come to mind. And tied right into grading is another tool that you should become really, really super good friends with, and that's a spreadsheet. A spreadsheet is absolutely instrumental in making that grading process easier. Don't
Beth,
you agree, Sarah? Yeah?
Yeah, I was just going to say, aren't there programs out there, like there are free, spreadsheets that people have created that are ways to chart out your pattern, your symbols, all this stuff in a spreadsheet. Like there are little tools, right? Do you know of a resource you can throw out?
I have to say, in this regard, I explored those earlier in my career. There was something called, I think it was called Garment Designer, and I used that for a little while. And there's a bunch of charting programs out there. So if you're looking to do something with cables and texture or color, those are great resources. Let me think of another one that's out there. There's, I can't think of the name of it right now.
Well, there is one called Cochineal. I don't know if that's still around, but that was one. That's a much more expensive program, and I used that when I was an early designer. I also used something called Sweaters. At the time, it was Sweaters 2.0. I don't even know if you can still get it, but it was like $30 for the license, and it was so easy. That was for like understanding silhouettes and shapes and how to grade. It was very basic, so you had to really customize it. Once you had, let's say, you wanted to design a raglan sweater, tunic length with 3/4 sleeves, like you could do that. And then the rest, what does your edging look like? What kind of embellishment? Maybe you want to add, what is your stitch pattern? You can't really plug that in to this. Well, actually you can, but it's like the bare bones. It's like creating a skeleton for yourself.
Yes.
But I always say, before you even do that, do it yourself and learn, understand, wrap your brain around it. Yeah. And I think that just because I know a lot of you guys that are in this group here right now, you're not even there with garments. I mean, you're interested in that as a future thing. But I think that when you're just entering this, Beth, and you have no experience, you're just new, getting your feet wet, starting with accessories, hats, shawls, smaller accessories. If you want to try your handed sweaters, baby, kids, because pint size is easy, but really diving in, unless you have the aptitude for it, but I think most people, it's good to go gradual and kind of build it up. Start with something that doesn't need to be graded at all. I think that's the best approach.
Sure. I think Kara is right, because you can use designing those things. You can use them while you're learning how to use your spreadsheet, becoming good friends with it, for example. Mm-hmm. And Word, or Pages, one of the other programs like that would be absolutely great to become best friends with. So, those are two things that I use all the time: a spreadsheet program and a word processing program. And yeah, the grading will come later. But if you try doing things in spreadsheets now, then you'll learn how to work with them and enter formulas. One of the commentators, our audience there, mentioned Marnie McLean's excellent tutorials on Excel and Illustrator and many other tools. They're back in her archive.
There it is. Nora says Marnie McLean. There it is. Marnie McLean has a tutorial using Excel for grading. So if you guys want to Google Marnie McLean Excel for grading, it'll probably pop right up there. So thanks so much for joining that, Nora. That's awesome.
Yeah. So awesome. Those are some great tools to start to get familiar with. I'll tell you, so if you get to the point, even publishing, I mentioned a page layout program like Word or Pages is the Apple. I work on a Mac, so that's Apple's Word equivalent. And the great thing about Pages, from my perspective, is it outputs to Word. I can export to Word when I go to send in something. I just like Pages natively. But if you're going to publish something, if you're thinking you're going to tip your toe in the waters and put something out there on Ravelry, one of your accessories that you really love, that you designed, you're going to have to put it out there for publication in some format. So a page layout tool is going to be essential to that. And I guess that leads me to one of our next tools that I'll talk about, because I mentioned grading and learning to grade. But you could even explore, you can dip your toe, and you can do more than dip your toe into the garment waters if you decide that you are okay with outsourcing. And by outsourcing, I mean working with, say, a tech editor right? See, that's part of in my little description here. When we got started, I mentioned teacher, designer, tech editor. And what a tech editor can do for you, there's a lot of things a tech editor can do for you. And somewhere on my website, there's a services tab. So bethwhitesidedesign.com/services, or you'll see it on the menu, services. There's a description on that page of various services that I provide, including a description of what tech editors can do for you. And so they range from things like putting your pattern into standard language, to checking your numbers, just checking what you've done, to checking your numbers and making suggestions, to actually grading the pattern for you. And of course, you pay proportionally there, depending on what kind of skills you make. And most tech editors will charge you somewhere between $15 and $40 an hour, depending on what you're asking them to do for you, and the quality level of what you've given them. The more work you do yourself, the less you have to pay them. And if you're wondering then, okay, well, how do I find a tech editor? There are groups on Ravelry that can assist you with that. I will also tell you that last week, somewhere right before last week, leading up to there, I decided to put into action a plan of my own that I've been mulling over for a while, and that is starting a business newsletter. So if you were here last week, you heard me mention my new newsletter, Biz Over Craft. And so I'll just mention it right now that part of what I am going to be creating in August for that newsletter is a little freebie that you can download for free when you sign up, or you'll receive when you sign up. And that will detail some of the things we're talking about and some of the resources, like give you some links to how do I find a tech editor? Well, try these Ravelry groups. So it'll go into what's on my services page in a little more detail with actual resources to find folks, as well as have an article, et cetera, et cetera. You can read, I'm going to say it now because we're talking about it and it's relevant. You can go to www.bethwhitesidedesign.com/bizovercraft. I took the hyphens out last week. That link won't work anymore. It's now just BIZOVERCRAFT. Yeah, I can spell on the fly. So anyway.
And if they go to your website, though, because a lot of the times, if people are listening on the go, if they go to bethwhitesidedesign.com, do you have a button that's pretty clear that they can just press and sign up?
Not yet.
Okay. Because but anyway, it's fine. I think that you made it very clear. I just thought maybe there might be a button for everybody.
Here's where I do some disclosure and talk about, the very process we've been talking about with you guys, I use myself, which is you make something up, you pay as little as possible for something like, say, website services until you get to a certain point, and then you jump to the next level. So for example, right now, my website is on WordPress. It's a WordPress.com site that's on their premium. I pay $100 a year to have a custom, what's called theme. All right. That's how it presents, how it looks. I can change certain things like colors, but not others. And so, there are certain things like that Kara has on her website that are great, that are awesome. Like she's just mentioned that I don't have access to right now. And so here's the thing, though, where I'm going with this is another thing you can consider for yourself when you get ready to do so is to start yourself a little free WordPress site so that you have somewhere to send people when they say, I love your new shawl that you put up on Ravelry. How do I get more of you? And you just say, www.newupcomingfamousdesigner.com. So
that's right. No, it should be very simple, and that's it. You don't, because a lot of the times we think we have to outlay all this money in the beginning. Because trust me, if you decide that you want to have an online presence, you'll start outlaying money before you know it. Once it's fine. It'll be relative to the kind of income resources that you bring into yourself, and then you'll have to expand and grow with that. So it's all good stuff, you know? So, and another thing I wanted to add to what Beth has been talking about in this section, and then we're going to move on to the next topic because we just have one more big two more topics really. But is to, and I'm always going to go back to magazines, you know, just study what magazines are doing. You know, if you're not sure where to start, how should my pattern look? How should I organize? You know, what comes first after with the title, the materials, like, well, how do I list what is happening in that Word document? So it's all living in that Word document before it becomes anything pretty and polished and in your pattern layout, you know, but see what's happening, you know, look at the style of magazines, the style of books, and come up with your own style guide. Create your own style guide like it's a template. And all you need to do is follow that, essentially cut and paste. That's what I do, because we don't need to think more than we shouldn't have to think more than we need to, right? Because pattern writing, there's a lot of wheels going on, and it's so easy to make an error when you're transcribing what's in your notes, which usually mine are a big scary mess. What's in the notes into the Word document. So it's like a lot of paying attention and, you know, kind of making sure you wrote everything correctly. And so, yeah, that's, yes, Beth. Yeah,
no,
you had something?
Just a little like, here, I have something to say, but I want to let you finish. So in line with what Kara said, so, you know, the big scary mess of notes, if you get to a point where you can think this way, I'm going to suggest something that was suggested to me that took years to start doing, but I'm in the middle of it right now, so it's very appropriate. If you can write the pattern ahead of time and then follow your own instructions.
Yes, of course. Of course. I tell myself that all the time. But, you know, and here's where, because if you're sitting on the couch and you have your little notebook, why not write directly in Evernote on your phone? And that's something that you can do. So write it, you know what I mean? Like with your, whatever, just on your phone. Because that actually is a little bit more efficient, because you know how it is when we're designing and you're like, wow, that whole section is totally wrong. It doesn't work. Scratch that. And so if you look at my notebook, it's like crossed out, you know, forget that. See the next page, big giant arrow over. It's like, really?
And then you have the notebook
not pretty.
The notebook you haven't looked at in 5 years. It's this thick, but it's got little gems of ideas tucked into it, in between the lines, in between those big X's. So just kind of funny.
Yeah, I know, because that's what I love about, you know, like then you get pretty stuff like I just love this because it's all like meaty and rich, you know, and then that's what happens. It's like, you know, you start sketching, and
I love your notebooks.
It just
Sarah.
becomes a creative big mess, big beautiful mess. Anyway, so yeah, so do, and then also, you know, knit like crazy or crochet like crazy. Do what others have done before you. That is the best advice. I mean, some of the most prolific designers, because I talk to people and ask them, like, how did you start? And what was it that helped you get good? I just knit like crazy. I knit other people's stuff like crazy. And that's what it comes down to. And
sample knitting.
That's true. A lot of you guys, girls and guys in here, you do that. You do sample and test knitting. And that's a great thing. That's a great way to get your feet wet for sure. So awesome. So I'm going to quick engage with the group here, because I know that some, you know, comments and different thoughts have come through, and I asked some questions earlier, and the last thing I mentioned was Elaine's comment about her style, nerdy and urban. That's cool. So let's see. And we asked what your why, or what you like to knit best. And so I'll just throw this up on screen. So Troy says, Troy enjoys knitting Afghans and throws. This way you don't have to worry about checking your gauge. Even have designed a few myself. It's true. So it's like, uh-oh, that was supposed to be an Afghan, but it's a baby blanket. Oh, okay. No, we're just kidding. Because that can happen, right? But no, I think we pretty much can understand that a little bit better with blankets. So that's cool. Thanks for sharing that, Troy. So let's see. Jana, I will probably aim for a style with an element of Torrid's fashion. Torrid's fashions. I don't know what that is. Torrid's fashions.
Neither do I. Now I want to pull the Google up and look.
Or Jana says, or a similar vibe. I have no idea what Torrid's is. I'm sorry for my ignorance. I'm willing to admit it. So here's, in case you guys want to see this again. So Nora, we mentioned this earlier. Nora shared Marnie McLean's tutorial. So there it is, you guys, if you want that. Okay. All right. Awesome. And so Christy says, that's my style now, Troy. That's good. So Christy is, Christy, you've been in, a lot of you guys, you took the Stitchucation Shawls Challenge. So you guys are all becoming more and more trusting of your own knitting, which is very, very awesome. So we're leading you down that wonderful path. And all of this, again, like we said, you want to design for yourself. You want to just customize for your own self, for your own body. Use these examples. You can still really structure what it is that you want to do if you're writing something for yourself in a really great Word document. That's okay, Beth. You don't have to do that. I'll let you talk. I'll stop.
So I Googled
Just cut
Torrid.
me off.
You should Google Torrid at some point, Kara. It's got some really cool little fashions on it. While you were going over what everybody was saying, I was doing a little research. That looks great.
Oh, awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that, Jenna. Okay, so Jana says, Beth said to pick a store. So Torrid is the store I picked. Oh, you did say pick a store? Oh, right, before the Benetton or the...
Yeah.
Right. See,
yeah.
That's where I'm like, my brain.
That's the great thing. You pick a site, you know, or a store, and you can go online and find others like it that you can then glean, you know, your ideas. Take your ideas. Steal like an artist.
Steal like an artist. Austin Kleon. Do you know Austin Kleon?
Yes.
Yes.
Austin.
Well, here we go down a rabbit hole. No, but Austin Kleon is great, and that's his thing. And I think he wrote a book, but look him up. Steal like an artist, and really, what that means is you're borrowing elements. And this is a good one. This might be a really great episode, Beth, because to talk about that, because I think a lot of you guys are afraid, like, I don't think I can use those stitch patterns because, you know, they were used in that design, or they're in this book, this stitch dictionary. That's why they're there. I mean, you know, taking a stitch, a raw, if you will, you know, stitch pattern from a dictionary and then reimagining it and turning it into something completely new in your design is 100% acceptable. Just putting that out there. So you're kind of, you know, stealing like an artist a little bit then. And that's really, I think, what Austin means, because let's face it, you can't do that. There's nothing new that we can do. We can be I see every day, beautiful, amazing, like how someone can take something that's out there, let's say, but then it's like so different because it's got their stamp on it. And that's where the authenticity happens.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean?
If you start, let's save this. We're going down that rabbit hole. Let's back it up and save that one for maybe like in September. We can talk about.
Remind me about that, Beth, because I've got so many topics on the burner, and I know that you'll be teaching and you'll be, doing a lot of things soon. So maybe at the end, not now, but at the end, share maybe where you're teaching. I don't know. Maybe people can still take your classes and.
Okay.
But anyway, so let's jump into the next section. We're running out of time. I just wanted to say really quickly, so keeping it sustainable, you know, and this might be premature because some of you guys are just starting out, but this is also inspiration and encouragement for later, because if you really want to take this online and this is for designer and non-designers. Also, you can create a platform. You can create a brand online, a fiber brand, okay? And you can embrace, as long as you are willing to embrace this online world. You know, the caveat is you got to build a platform. That's really where it starts. But if you're excited about the online space, which, like, I love it. Like, so much fun to be on here with you guys and just all the different ways to make things online. So building your platform, building your social presence takes time, but that's where, that's kind of where it needs to start. So Beth, you were going to jump in there and say,
something. I've heard you talk about building a platform before, and I know that these folks are generally your audience, but when you say platform, it's not like you're specifically meaning a software platform, you're meaning your business platform, like your position, starting with knowing your audience and who they are, and then who are you trying to reach out there, right? Isn't it part of finding your people?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's kind of the buzzword, people, and maybe you guys don't know, but that's kind of what we say out there in the digital world, building your platform, meaning, yes, your social proof, your Facebook page, your group page. What does that look like? What do your banners look like? What does your brand look like? Is your face on everything? What's the name of your design business? Or maybe you're just starting out and you want to keep it simple. Use your face, use your name.com. Done. So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there. Again, that can be premature. This could be a little premature, but something that we've already talked about this a lot, you guys, because I know that some of you really do want to see what's out there in that so that I can build something. I don't want to design, but I want to share and express my love for yarn and knitting. And there is a place for you. Trust me. And that's something that we talk about. I talk about this with some of my coaching clients, and I pull that out of them. It's like, maybe you want a website, you want to be a curator of things that you can do and people will pay attention. So that's just, one little piece. And then finally, it's face fear in the face. Because I hear from a lot of you guys in my discovery sessions. What if this is, I want to know, and a lot of you said this, how do I know if what I want to do is viable? Well, you don't. Just being honest. You don't until you try. But if you love what you do and you're excited, and you have to be okay with making mistakes. You can't learn from anyone. You can't really learn from a coach. You can, but the coach can't say, do X, Y, and Z. They can tell you to do X, Y, and Z if you have a goal, and they can point you in the right direction and help you stay accountable. Because remember that the beauty is born out of the mud, right? The lotus is born. What is that? The lotus is born. The mud comes from the lotus, or the lotus comes from the mud, or something like that.
Sarah, all I remember is the jewel in the heart of the lotus. Oh.
Yes. But the idea is like this beautiful flower comes out of like failing forward and making mistakes and all the dark moments, right?
Oh yeah, no, it's the whole, we get so caught up in being afraid of failure when we forget to even try, and you're not going to do anything if you don't try. You're not going to start. And we, human beings, I think we're built to dream. So why not try for your dreams? Like, why not keep dreaming? First of all, don't stop dreaming. Always keep dreaming. And then why not try and make them real? You really got nothing to lose. What's the worst that can happen with knitwear design? I mean, really, what's the worst that can happen?
Right.
So
what's the worst that can happen? Right. If you have your day job and you're just kind of dabbling, and I think a lot of it comes down to fear of like, it's like, okay, is this viable? I don't know. Fear of wasting time.
Yes.
Because time is so valuable. And it's like, oh my gosh, I just wasted 6 months. No, you didn't, or 3 months or whatever. You didn't waste that time. You learned so much. That is fuel for later. It's a stepping stone, and you have to believe that it is, even if it doesn't seem like it is at the time, because it totally is.
There's this wonderful quote that now I'm not remembering the actual quote. I'll put it under that, in that Biz Over Craft page. I'll put it on the bottom, but it's something about people rushing through, rushing through the world, trying to figure out what to do with the time that they've saved, as opposed to, I don't remember it exactly. It may not be appropriate, but if it is, I'm going to throw it down there. Yeah. One of my notes to myself on all of this, and it came out of, I've been sporty most of my life, like competitive sports, like team sports, sporty. And so I stumbled into a book by John Wooden. If you can find there's a book out there. It's a little book of John Wooden quotes. He was coach of UCLA for many, many years. And his quotes are priceless and very inspiring. So one of them had to do with, practice. And so my take on it is, that failures are the practice that lead up to your success. Right.
I love it.
If you don't fail, you don't learn. If you don't learn, you don't get better. So, hey.
Yeah, that's great. That's great advice, Beth. I mean, of course, this is useful for anything. It doesn't matter whether we're designing, we're just, trying to make it today, do something. So Audrey shared, I'm going to just put it up real quick. So Audrey says, in my experience, it helps to have a thick skin when it comes to rejections. Persevere. Yes. Thank you. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Audrey. So, all right. So you guys, we're going to switch gears a little bit, begin to wrap it up. So I just wanted to let you guys know that if you haven't heard already, I do have a community. It's the Power Purls community on Patreon. So you can join for $5 a month and get ongoing monthly challenges, mini-sodes that are not released anywhere else, a private Facebook group, and patron-only posts. So you can check that out at powerpurlspodcast.com/community. And I also want to let you know, we have a challenge coming up. It's starting August 7th through the 9th. So those of you that are already in the community, you saw my announcement about this, but it's called the Stash Therapy Challenge. And so it's 3 days. It's short. It's really short because I think sometimes we just need these little quick bursts of challenges to get ourselves excited. It's going to be how to organize, how to take a look at all those little mini balls and all those crazy skeins that you have and really start to look at colors, create color stories. And then we're actually going to make a cute little purse. So it's going to be a free pattern that I'm giving to you during the challenge. And you can test drive this. You can sign up for $1 because this is open to every patron. So if you sign up at the higher levels, you get more rewards. You get the mini-sode. Yeah, just $1 to test drive, just this one time for 3 days. And, check it out. You can check it out. And then in September, I'm partnering with Barocco. So that's going to be a big one because we're doing a knit-along/challenge. And so every month, okay, so starting in August, and then every month there's going to be a challenge, but you can test drive it for $1 only once though. And that's going to be coming up in August.
$1 anymore. You can't get anything for $1.
No, but you get this challenge, but then you also get some other little, Patreon perks there. So if you guys want to check it out, just go to the community page. It's powerpurls.com/community. And I hope that you'll consider, joining in on this challenge because this is the kickoff for a regular monthly knit along series. And then Beth, how about if you share once more the info for your
it's the Biz Over Craft bulletin that will be targeted at people interested in designing and becoming professionals in the industry, and it will be available in August with the free little gifty on resources, the resource guide. And you can find out more about that at bethwhitesidedesign.com/biz, BIZ, OVER, craft, CRAFT. So
Biz Over Craft. Awesome. So, and also one last thing here. So if you guys want to also, I mentioned earlier, the free coaching sessions. If you guys are interested in that, you can go to powerpurlspodcast.com/free strategy session. So totally free, 30 minutes with me. Do it.
You should do it because Tara and I have had some great conversations, and in talking to her, I've had some major jumps, some major aha moments. Just talking to somebody else about what I'm thinking about doing has helped me figure out quite a lot direction wise. So take the free one. You'll love it.
Awesome, you guys. So this was great. So Beth, thanks again for joining me. We mentioned that earlier. So are you gonna be teaching at any public, consumer events or
sure.
What's going on? Because I know you're running out of here pretty soon.
I am heading off to Stitches Midwest in Chicago on Wednesday, and then I'll be teaching also at Stitches Texas in September. So that'll be in the Irving, Texas. I guess that's one of the Dallas suburbs. We'll be there. I'll be there. Come by and say hi.
Awesome. So
and chat with you guys.
So Chicago is this weekend, right?
The
Chicago?
one coming up next weekend. So not tomorrow.
Oh, next weekend. Not tomorrow. Awesome. Well, Beth, this was great. Thanks for joining me. I love chatting with you. You just, good friend, and so wonderful that we chit chat together, and then we brought it onto the airwaves, onto the interwebs, as they say. So thank you for joining us, everyone, and I'll see you guys next week. And by the way, it's going to be next Wednesday. All right, Beth.
Okay, Kara.
Thank you guys.
Bye, everybody.
See ya. Have a good weekend.